Welcome, learners, to another deep dive. Today, we're taking a stack of sources straight from the heart of Formula One.
That's right.
Specifically, we're doing a deep dive into the 2025 Hungarian Grand Prix. Always a tricky race for drawing really firm conclusions.
Definitely. And our insights today, they're mainly coming from an F1 blogs transcript, which honestly gave us some incredibly candid, sometimes quite surprising takes on what was, well, a really complicated weekend.
Yeah, it really was.
So our mission today is basically to unpack the most important nuggets, the key bits of knowledge from that race.
We want to help you understand not just what happened, but maybe why it matters, what it might tell us about the rest of the 2025 season.
Exactly, because Hungary, it often throws up these odd results, doesn't it? So it's perfect ground for looking a bit deeper beyond just the main headlines.
Okay, let's get into it then. We're going to try and peel back the layers on, well, everything really. From some surprising driver psychology, potential mental shifts, to these deep-seated car issues that still seem to be baffling some of the top teams.
Yeah, still.
You'll hear about the major takeaways, the unexpected performances, and, some of the baffling mysteries that came out of Hungary.
It's a proper F1 drama mosaic, like you said.
Right. Let's jump straight in with a really compelling and maybe a bit disheartening story. Lewis Hamilton.
Ah, yes.
Our source material suggests he's, quote, seen the light in the end of the tunnel, but for the worse, which is quite a phrase.
Wow, yeah.
It describes this, unprecedented level of pessimism from him verbally, quoting him saying, I'm useless. I mean, that's incredibly stark for a champion, isn't it?
It's astonishing, really. You just don't expect to hear that. And what's fascinating is the interpretation from F1 blogs that Hamilton genuinely believes Charles Leclerc is simply better.
Better. As in, right now.
Yeah, capable of reaching a performance level he feels he cannot anymore. And this comes after a tough period, already finding himself behind Russell sometimes.
Right.
The source kind of posits this as maybe a normal decline for a driver who's now 40, which is, it's a harsh reality of the sport, I suppose.
It really is. It makes you think about that peak performance window.
Absolutely. And it's not just Hamilton. It's a reminder of the immense mental and physical toll F1 takes, especially as these incredible athletes get older.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The analysis connects this directly back to Abu Dhabi 2021.
Ah, yes, that night.
Suggesting something broke in Hamilton's mind then. The source suggests that, maybe subconsciously, that moment led him to consider leaving if the regs didn't suit him.
Feeling like his story's ending was sort of stolen.
Yeah, something like that. Ruined unjustly. It's a profound idea, isn't it? How one single event could potentially reshape a champion's entire outlook.
It's a critical point. If this mental shift the F1 blogs analysis talks about is real, what are the tangible consequences? And how does that fit with what maybe others in the paddock are saying?
Well, the source does mention reports from F1 blogs itself, kind of planting the seed, that Hamilton might leave after 2026.
Right, or at least being told to, reconduct yourself or leave. That's strong wording.
Very strong. It frames 2026 as his last opportunity, which feels like a powerful message coming from observers close to the sport. Almost a challenge, maybe.
It does feel like that, like they're saying, show us you've still got it, or yeah.
And then we get this stark contrast provided. Fernando Alonso, he's 4 years older than Hamilton.
And 4 years, and yet
described as being in a much sweeter moment. Still has the rage, the desire, the constant work.
And crucially, better containment when things aren't going his way. That's a key distinction, that containment.
Explain that a bit more. Containment.
It seems to mean his ability to channel frustration, not let it spiral and negatively impact his driving or the team's mood when things go wrong.
Ah, okay. Mental fortitude.
Exactly. Alonso's sustained drive, despite, not having Lewis's title count, shows age isn't the only thing. His ability to manage setbacks and keep pushing seems incredibly intact, maybe even more than some younger guys.
It's a fascinating comparison in how different champions handle the later stages of their careers.
Definitely.
Okay, so speaking of the mental game and pressure, let's pivot from the drivers to the teams. How does this all play out in performance? Let's start with Aston Martin. The source calls it a curious case. They saw these green shoots of improvement in Hungary, but the actual amount of progress, well, that remains a bit fuzzy.
It's very telling, isn't it, that they were literally putting older pieces in the car.
Yeah, just to see if things got better. That suggests a lot of experimentation, uncertainty.
For sure. And while the Hungaroring circuit definitely played to their strengths, its characteristics.
Right.
The F1 blog's analysis says the improvement wasn't just a garage thing, like not just minor tweaks, it suggests real steps forward for the car and the team.
Okay, so some genuine progress.
Seems like it. But they also clarify Aston won't suddenly be fighting for top 3 or 4 consistently for the rest of the year. Performance will likely depend a lot on the circuit.
Right, track dependent.
Yeah. And a key takeaway is the car probably won't change much more from here on out, which actually might make it easier for us fans to read their performance, see where they really stack up on different track types.
That's a good point. Okay, now for the really big headlines from the source. Red Bull and Mercedes declared the great defeated of the year.
Ooh, strong words.
Especially for Mercedes, right?
Yeah.
2025 was meant to be their year. The comeback season.
Yeah, finally leave the struggles behind.
But they've struggled massively to understand their rear suspension, that absolutely critical part of the car. They've already discarded 2 different designs.
2. It's pretty remarkable. Such a significant misstep for a team like Mercedes with their history and resources.
How does this compare, say, to Ferrari's long drought?
Well, it's a different kind of disappointment, isn't it? Ferrari haven't won for 20 years, so maybe expectations are different. Mercedes expected to be back fighting at the front this year.
True.
The only slight positive, maybe, is that they realized their problem earlier than Aston Martin did with their own issues back in Canada 2024. So, silver lining.
A very small silver lining. And interestingly, Antonelli, their young driver.
Yeah.
He actually seems to perform better with the old suspension.
Does he really?
Oh.
That suggests a real disconnect then, doesn't it? Between the new design concept and what the drivers can actually get out of the car.
It does. Okay, so that's Mercedes. What about Red Bull? The source says their defeat is even more resounding.
Wow. More resounding than Mercedes.
Apparently so. It notes Tsunoda was closer to Max, not because Tsunoda was suddenly amazing, but because Max was just further from the top than usual.
So Max was dragged back towards the midfield, relatively speaking?
Kind of.
Oh.
And it's just incredible, the source says, that this current car is related to the one that won all but one race in 2023.
It is staggering, the drop-off. That dominance feels like a lifetime ago now.
It really does.
Yeah.
Is it just the car, though? The source asks if organizational changes at Racing Bulls might be having an impact, too.
Ah, the wider structure. That's possible. It suggests anything with Red Bull branding on the grid right now smells like a 5th team or worse.
5th team or worse. Ouch.
Ouch. Marking Hungary as potentially their worst race. Now, they might still grab podiums on less twisty circuits where pure aero efficiency isn't everything.
Right. Power tracks, maybe?
Maybe, but the F1 blog's analysis basically calls it a practically definitive defeat for both Mercedes and Red Bull for the championship this year.
So the rest of the season is damage limitation, not a title fight for them.
That seems to be the conclusion. A big miss for both teams, considering their resources and history.
Right. Let's shift focus again. Some other interesting stories the source highlighted. Carlos Sainz and Franco Colapinto. Their performance is described as gray.
Gray, as in neither good nor bad, just there.
Something like that. Sainz, particularly, has apparently been quite somber this year. Which is different for him, isn't it? He's usually quite upbeat.
He is, and the analysis shows that even though he adapted well initially, even beat Albon in qualifying early on.
Yeah, I remember that.
A string of problems have just hit him.
Yeah.
For like 14 races straight. The source calls it almost voodoo.
Like he's cursed.
Sort of feels that way, apparently. His underlying performance, his understanding of the car compared to his teammate, it's reportedly good. But
results are needed.
Exactly. That's the brutal truth in F1. Points are what matter in the second half of the season. Doesn't matter how good the analysis looks if the scoreboard is empty.
Tough situation for him. And then there's Franco Colapinto at Alpine.
Right. Alpine had a shocker in Hungary, a disaster weekend for them.
Yeah, but despite that, Colapinto was ahead of Gasly.
Ah, interesting.
The source credits him with having found performance in the car, which is exactly what he needed, after a tricky start.
So finding something personal, even when the team's struggling, that feels like maybe turning the corner for him.
That's the phrase used. A positive takeaway, even from a really bad team weekend.
Yeah, and the source emphasizes he was ahead of Gasly, even though both had a terrible car and the team wasn't executing well.
It's about finding that individual stride, isn't it? Extracting something extra.
Definitely. Good for his confidence, especially for a young driver under the spotlight.
Okay, final segment. Let's dive into the Ferrari enigma. The source uses a perfect phrase here. Ferrari, what we learned and what we didn't learn.
Huh. Sounds about right for Ferrari sometimes. It paints a picture of, quote, Maranello's mess.
A mess. And a frustrating lack of clear info, or maybe even understanding within the team itself.
So why the confusion? What's going on there?
Well, the source mentions another driver's little mouth comment,
Yeah?
maybe implying someone's leaking insider info about Ferrari's struggles.
Ooh, spicy, like gossip from the inside.
Perhaps. And then there's Leclerc's obvious frustration over the radio about mechanics touching his front wing. He believed they destroyed his car.
Right, I remember hearing that. Suggests a real disconnect, doesn't it? Between the driver feeling something on track and what the engineers are deciding in the garage. Lots of mixed messages.
And the core issue, it seems, isn't the main monocoque chassis.
No.
No, it's more about other chassis parts. The rear suspension again, the floor, maybe ride heights, those kinds of things.
Ah, the details.
Interestingly, they have apparently solved their old wind kryptonite problem. The car isn't as badly affected by crosswinds anymore.
Okay, that's a positive, but...
So now the focus has shifted. New problems. Excessive floor wear, which obviously kills performance over a race.
The grades, the downforce.
Exactly. And still struggling with suspension configuration. It suggests, according to the source, a persistent error of concept in the car's basic design.
So they're constantly fighting the car's fundamentals rather than optimizing a solid base. Like patching holes instead of building a strong foundation.
That's a good way to put it. Which naturally leads to questions about credibility.
Can you believe Asserts' tranquilizing messages to the media, his reassurances?
The source suggests. Probably not entirely. Leclerc's radio messages during the race are seen as much more revealing.
Like when he said, let me drive to solve this problem, don't change it beforehand.
Exactly. That raw frustration in the heat of the moment versus the more polished answers afterwards.
Yeah, the mask comes off in the cockpit.
And here's a really specific, potentially crucial detail the source flags up.
Go on.
Look into potential fines related to tire pressure changes.
Tire pressures? Why?
It could be a subtle clue, maybe hinting they used a new set of tires at the wrong pressures, maybe accidentally, leading to underperformance or even penalties.
Ah, that could explain some of the inconsistency, if true. It's a very specific thing to point out.
It is. So what does it all mean for Ferrari going forward?
Well, the F1 blog's analysis concludes the suspension change they made should be positive, theoretically. But it's unclear for which specific tracks it'll actually give them an advantage.
So still some uncertainty.
Definitely. But despite all these ongoing issues, these concept errors, Ferrari, in theory, should be the second strongest from here to the end of the World Championship.
Second strongest, even with the problems. Ahead of Mercedes and Red Bull then.
That's the theory, based on underlying pace, perhaps. However, that audacious decision to change suspension concepts for 24-25 when they clearly expected to fight for the title,
Yeah.
it's clearly backfired. It was a gamble that hasn't paid off, a significant misstep in their chase for that elusive championship.
Wow. What a journey through the complexities of just one race weekend, the Hungarian Grand Prix.
It really shows how much goes on beneath the surface, doesn't it?
Absolutely. From Hamilton's inner thoughts to Ferrari's ongoing mysteries and those surprising struggles from giants like Red Bull and Mercedes, F1 is never, ever short on drama, on or off the track.
Every race tells a much deeper story than just the finishing order on Sunday.
Indeed. And understanding these deeper layers, getting beyond just the results, it gives you such valuable insight, doesn't it, into this world of elite motorsport.
We really hope this deep dive helps you feel, a bit more clued in about all those subtle dynamics playing out. Maybe gives you a fresh perspective next time you watch.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the 2025 Hungarian Grand Prix. Remember, every race tells a story.
And sometimes the best bits are hidden if you don't look beyond the obvious.
Keep that curiosity alive.
So what stands out to you from all this analysis we've unpacked? Maybe next time you're watching a race, you'll be listening for those little clues, those connections, thinking about the mental game, the hidden par issues.
Yeah, keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep learning.